Good afternoon guys, welcome to Dark Purple Shadow. Today I'm talking about computers, specifically CPUs, specifically the 7800X3D, which honestly looks like the Lamborghini Diablo of processors, a legend in the making. Now, the 7800X3D is making me wish I had one. Every time I hear about this processor, people are saying good things. Despite its relatively high price of above £300, probably closer to the £400 mark if you don't get a good deal, the 7800X3D is worth every single penny from what I've heard. I don't have one, I haven't used one, but from the information I've gotten myself, from reviews, from news articles, from people's testimonies, it is a big juicy upgrade. I'm sitting on a very old platform. I'm sitting on a i7-6700 from late 2016 when I got it. The processor itself was about almost 2 years old at the end of its life cycle when I did get it. So it is showing its age, and I mentioned my graphics card in the last video, but this processor is definitely holding everything in my system back. The problem with upgrading processors is you gotta do the full shebang. If I'm gonna upgrade my processor, it has to be the motherboard, the RAM, all of it. And that is a big decision to make. So right now I'm not in a place where I want a 7800X3D. Going into 2025, I do believe it will still be a good option, even if the next generation of AMD's CPUs comes out, because I think they might be better performing, but bang for your buck, I think the 7800X3D will still be there. And realistically, it might just make it cheaper for the people who want it. I still see people recommending AM4 processors, so actually Ryzen, even the older Ryzen kind of platforms are still relevant. The 7800X3D itself is an AM5 processor, so even if I get one middle of next year and I pay like 300, high £200 for it, I'll be in a good place, because AM5 will be supported until I believe 2027, and probably a bit longer than that. Now that means even if I get one next year, 2 years after that I can upgrade. And realistically, for the stuff I'm doing, you know, gaming, light content work, you know, light video editing, very limited Photoshop, stuff like that, just browsing using my computer, I think the 7800X3D will be more than enough. Now, what are the reasons why people get it? So the 7800X3D has a special Vcache system, extended 3D Vcache, and it basically offers bad boy gaming performance, unrivaled. In fact, the 7800X3D is a lightweight fighting, well, it's a middleweight fighting with the heavyweights. It is basically the best processor for gaming across the board. Price to performance, crazy. When it comes to value, it is the king. That doesn't mean it's the cheapest. It means you're paying £300 or £350 or $400 or whatever you're paying, but you're getting your money's worth for it. It's also very, very, very energy efficient compared to other architectures, other processors, which makes it lovely. With the current electricity prices, you're not only saving money in the front end when you're putting the money down for the processor, you're saving money in the maintenance of it. And realistically, the power draw of a processor is probably more significant than the graphics card, because even when you're using your computer as a lay person browsing, you're still using the processor at a high degree. Obviously, with the 7800X3D, I have access to DDR5 RAM. I'm on DDR4 RAM right now. It's relatively slow DDR4 RAM as well. It is what it is, but DDR5 looks like, you know, looks like a decent upgrade. And the thermal performance is pretty good as well. The processor stays relatively cool. I don't need a big fat, you know, AIO to keep it cool. I'm all good with just a regular air cooling processor cooler. I'll still get an AIO because I think the ones with a little GIF inside look amazing, but the opportunity is there to build a cheaper system. Now, the main predicament of this video is how relevant will the 7800X3D be in 2025? I feel like it will remain relevant, and a way to see this is the fact that even older Ryzen processors, even processors from the AM4 platform, are still relevant. If a new 9800X3D comes out and it destroys the 7800X3D by like 10, 15, 20, 30%, but it costs about twice as much, is that really going to be a place for you to upgrade? I don't think so. I think any new developments from AMD, any new processors they bring out will simply change the market a bit. They won't be as revolutionary as the 7800X3D. This processor in my opinion, is effectively the GTX 1080 Ti of processors. Expensive, but full of value. And I think AMD regrets releasing something so good because it has cannibalized any processors that they want to release at the higher tier. So even the 7950 X3D, stuff like that, people just stick with the 7800 X3D because actually in a lot of situations, for gaming at least, it is better. Now, in terms of my kind of plan, if the new generation of AMD processors come out in 2025, when the new GPUs from Nvidia come out and they look good and the price point's good and they're better than the 7800 X3D, yeah, I'm gonna go for them. But if they're better but they cost about twice as much, then I might still be rocking a 7800 X3D. And the reason why I'm not worried with that is because I'm on the AM5 platform, baby. The AM5 platform is lovely because it's confirmed supported until 2027, maybe even longer than that. So that means if I get tired of my processor, I can just chuck in a new one without worrying about changing my motherboard and paying £200 for a brand new juicy motherboard. So essentially, AMD has put itself in a weird position where the 7800 X3D is a no-brainer and it will remain as such. It is like the Toyota Corolla of processors right now. Even when it gets old, it will still work great. And because of how overkill it is for most situations right now, I don't see it waning anytime soon. The real problem with my old processor, the i7-6700, is the fact that I got it when AMD didn't exist. In 2016, Ryzen was a mere rumor. In fact, I didn't even think the name Ryzen was out at the time. Everybody knew about the name Zen. The RX 480 had just released. You had stuff like that going on. So there's a lot going on there. And although AMD was looking positive, it was still down in the dumps in terms of where it was from a performance perspective compared to Intel. And it was actually the Ryzen processors that really accelerated the development of CPUs over the last decade. And essentially, everything I have in my system is from before that time. So I'm living in a very, very old world here where Intel was effectively undefeated and undestroyable. And my Intel processor hasn't aged well because of it. Because essentially, as soon as I bought my processor, put it in my system, it was out of date within 2 years. And it became worse and worse every generation, to the point now where I know it sounds a bit silly and Windows 11, I'm not really too excited by it, but realistically, Microsoft said, oh, you probably can't upload Windows 11 onto this processor because it doesn't have the special random T unit or whatever they call it. Realistically, I still could if I wanted to. I could override that, but it's just one of those things. It shows you how out of date things have gotten from that generation. Pascal still holds up well, but outside of that, processors wise, the Intel processors from a decade ago, it's not looking good for them. And especially the one I have, which is a non-overclockable i7-6700. So yeah. So in summary, 7800 X3D, top dog. It will remain top dog until the next generation come out. And it will remain relevant even when the next gen come out because of how good it is. So yeah, thank you very much guys. Catch you later. Peace. And please remember to subscribe if you enjoy the content. Comment down below if you have any questions, queries, any kind of ideas yourself. I'm just rambling here about stuff I enjoy.